Well, hey folks, today I want to talk about course strategy and when you're dealing with a downhill shot. Should you use something like this? Or maybe something like this? Or what else should you use? We're going to talk about that right after the intro. Well, hey folks, I'm out at Klarkavika Park. I think I'm saying that right. I'm sorry, my Norwegian friends, but I'm in the upper northwest of Norway. Some wonderful courses around here in the area of Leknes. I'll throw something up here, but there are 4 great courses in the area. This is probably the most popular amongst families and stuff, a little centralized, great course for people to get to know disc golf. But they've got this wonderful hole here. This is hole 16, that we are about 225 feet from the pin, and it is a hazard circle around the hole, but we're also about 30 feet up above. So it's a 30-foot drop down to basically a bullseye you're trying to get. And so it leaves a lot of questions on what to throw here. You know, a lot of times when you're doing something like this, you want to just throw something and pin it at the basket with something stable, overstable. But the problem is the wind. In case you didn't know, up here it gets windy a lot. So here today, the wind is coming across here. A lot of times it'll be coming from the water coming this way. And the thing is, it tends to swirl in this area, and that's the problem. If there was no wind, the smart play would probably just throw something up and let it spike down right at the basket. But the problem with this, if I throw a backhand spike with this wind coming this way, it's going to want to grab it and just shove it back this way. And so it may, before it ever gets to the basket, get blown out of the circle. The same thing if the wind's coming this way and I throw a spike hyzer, just get blown. As a matter of fact, the first time I did it, I blew over to the other basket over there, thinking I threw a smart spike hyzer, and this is what led me to think about this hole. So whenever you've got height like this, a lot of times you can feel wind up here, but you don't know what's going on down there, and you send something up in the air, and if you're trying to do a spike hyzer, what's happening is you're putting the flight plate vertical. What does this remind you of? It's a sail, like a sailboat. So any wind is going to be exaggerated the more the disc tilts over. So wind coming this way is really going to push it out here. Wind coming this way, really going to push it out there. So you could take that into account. Okay, the wind's coming this way. I would probably throw a forehand, expecting the wind to push it, and I'd aim over left and let it bring it back over that way. Just because chances are it's going to be fighting the wind instead of riding the wind to really blow out into the water. Whereas if I threw a forehand over here and put it up on spike hyzer, it's just going to catch that wind and just send it sailing probably into the bay. So what I think you want to do here is you want to change and see how straight you can throw it. Because a straight disc, if I put something on edge, and it doesn't have to be a berg, it could be a mid-range, heck, it could be anything. You could just pin right at the basket. But you want to try to throw something nice and straight, because a straight disc is going to be affected by the wind the least. And for a shot like this, there is a road before it, but if I hit the road or anything right in front of it, because of the velocity, it's probably going to get me into the safe zone. So on a shot like this, instead of going naturally to spike hyzer, I'm going to grab something like the berg, and I'm going to try to throw it right at the basket, or a little bit in front of it, knowing that the wind's going to want to try to lift it some, and I would rather hit early and let it get into the basket than hit at the basket and slide out of the back end zone. Does that make sense? Beyond the hazard. Of course, there's some people getting ready to throw, so I'm going to wait for that. Oh, and another factor before I throw is the variability of the wind. What I'm feeling up here is not going to be the same down there, but also, let's say I decide to take the wind in consideration. What if it dies right as I do that? So instead of it getting blown, it just goes out and crashes. So you always want to be thinking of worst case scenarios and how you can play the best, safest, most accurate shot, especially when the wind conditions dictate that it's going to be a little scary. All right, so let's see if I can throw just a nice straight shot down to the basket. There's a wind. It's probably about a 10-mile-an-hour wind, but gusting up to really felt like about 30 miles an hour. So I'm just going to come along. and I'm just throwing straight downhill. Remember, I've talked about I'm matching the terrain. I am really aiming, my aim point is that road, because I don't want to aim at the basket, because any lift will carry me beyond the basket. But that's where, especially when you're going downhill, windy, I think sometimes the best thing you can do is just aim low, put it on a line, and let it just ride right to your aim point. Now, let's try this. I've done pretty well. First shot, right by the basket. So let's tempt fate, and let's try to do a spike hyzer so I can show you what not to do, hopefully. Now watch this go right in the basket and mess up my whole theory, but let's try it. Okay, I'm taking real overstable. This is a resistor, so it's a 3.5 fade. Got a little wind up here, but let's wait just a minute for a little more wind. All right, so now with this wind coming this way, it's gonna wanna push that way. So I'm gonna aim for the left peg of the hazard ring. So hopefully if I get any kind of push, I'm gonna stay inside the ring. Okay, so what happened there? I thought I had thrown that perfectly, and it started to push out this way, and it looks like the wind just died over there. And so halfway through, it was starting to do this, and then it just went, oh, the wind's done, and it just faded out this way. So see, that's where, you know, even as smart as I could play the wind is a sneaky little guy, and it likes to mess with you, especially if you give it so much time up in the air with the lid facing this way. It can really mess with the disc. And that's why I think if you can be smarter and just try to get under the wind, keep it nice and straight, that's gonna be your best bet here. Well, there you go, guys. I'm having a wonderful time in Norway, and I'm hoping that this will be a great little tip for you. Besides, you can see the amazing scenery that I'm getting to play out here. It's really a wonderful time. So anyway, there you go, guys. Thank you so much for watching. I hope to see you out on the course.